Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bhakti Fundamentals. Today, we're exploring a common question, especially for those just starting out on the path of bhakti. And that is, can I spiritualize my job? Or rather, can my work be spiritual? Is there a way to keep doing what I'm already doing work-wise, but make it count spiritually? Let's talk about this some. Of course, we all have to do something in this world to live, and Kṛṣṇa doesn't ignore that reality. He's incredibly practical. In chapter 3 of the Bhagavad-gītā, he addresses this head-on when speaking about the nature of action. Right at the beginning of the chapter, Kṛṣṇa explains to Arjuna, everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. For more on the modes of material nature, please see our existing series on these powerful influences that shape our behavior and consciousness in this world. But for our purposes right now, the message of this verse is clear. Somehow or other, we will act in this world. Action is inescapable. Even inaction is a type of action. Thus, even if we try to avoid it, the very nature of material existence, driven by our nature, shaped by the three modes, forces us to engage with the world around us. And indeed, Kṛṣṇa goes on to add, perform your prescribed duty. For doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. However, then he gives us the key, the secret to making our work in this world liberating rather than materially binding. In other words, he tells us how our work can free us from matter, from material karma, rather than entangling us more deeply in it. Kṛṣṇa explains, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu, or Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme, has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. In this verse, Kṛṣṇa is saying, yes, you must work in this world, so work for me. Do it as an offering to me. And in that way, we will not be generating material karmic reactions that bind us to this material world lifetime after lifetime. When we offer the results of our work to the Supreme, Kṛṣṇa, and carry out our duties for his satisfaction instead of just for our own, then we no longer generate material karma. Instead, we make spiritual advancement through our day-to-day work and activities. To expand on this point, in Bhakti Yoga, there's a concept called yukta-vairagya. This Sanskrit term translates to right or proper renunciation. And when we talk about renunciation in this context, we don't mean walking away from the world or quitting our job to live in a forest. Rather, we mean renunciation of our material consciousness or material mindset and replacing it with spiritual consciousness. In a nutshell, proper renunciation means giving up material consciousness in favor of spiritual consciousness. And when we cultivate that spiritual consciousness, we begin to see everything in a different light, even our work activities, and also our family life, possessions, hobbies, and so on, as things that can be used in service to the Supreme, or Kṛṣṇa. Of course, to be spiritualized, the work we do and any activity we engage in has to be done in the right spiritual consciousness, and the work itself has to be suitable and acceptable for offering to Kṛṣṇa. More on this in a moment. Let's say you're a teacher, an artist, an engineer, a student, a parent, a social media content generator. Practically all occupations and phases of life can be spiritualized if we offer the results of our work to Kṛṣṇa and carry out our job with integrity. As we looked at earlier, Kṛṣṇa encourages Arjuna to remain in his role as a Kshatriya, a warrior, and fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, not for Arjuna's own gain, but as an offering to him, Kṛṣṇa. And he urges Arjuna to remain conscious of him at all times. The benefit of this approach is not just freedom from material entanglement, what we talked about earlier. There's a much more spiritually positive gain too. Attaining Krishna himself. In chapter 8 of the Gita, Krishna says, "Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt." How comforting this is. Krishna doesn't demand drastic renunciation of us. We don't need to renounce our jobs or walk away from our responsibilities in order to attain Krishna or achieve spiritual perfection. Rather, what Krishna asks is simple yet profound. Simply add him, Krishna, to our lives. This is what spiritual life really entails. We simply need to remember Krishna while we go about our daily lives and to dedicate our work and the results of our work to him. Krishna's instructions in the Gita are not just for Arjuna, they apply to us too. We can stay in our respective roles in society, carry out all our family and work duties, and still make genuine spiritual advancement through our daily work and activities. This is proper renunciation. This is the bhakti principle of yukta-vairagya. Bhakti yoga doesn't require us to reject the world. It teaches us how to see and interact with the world spiritually and to engage with it in a way that pleases Krishna. However, and this is important, not every job or perhaps everything within our jobs can be spiritualized. This is where spiritual intelligence, the ability to discriminate between what is spiritually uplifting and what is spiritually degrading, comes into play. If a job is deeply rooted in the mode of ignorance, tamaguna for instance, such as working in a slaughterhouse, selling and distributing meat, or engaging in deceitful, exploitative, or harmful activities, then no amount of good intention can transform that work into something spiritually beneficial. For example, those on the path of bhakti yoga avoid not only eating meat, but also cooking or serving it to others, even if it's just for a job. Why? Because such activities promote violence to other living entities, dull our spiritual sensitivity, and pollute our consciousness. It becomes very difficult to remember Krishna or to develop qualities like compassion toward other living entities while daily engaging in actions that directly harm other living beings. If we're ever asked to do something at work that goes against our spiritual principles, we can respectfully explain, "I'm happy to do other tasks, but I can't engage in this particular activity." In most cases, that kind of integrity is respected. But if our job forces us to compromise our spiritual values, it may be a sign that it's time for a change. After all, a healthy workplace should honor our deeply held spiritual convictions. Of course, Krishna is supremely practical. In chapter 18 of the Bhagavad-gītā, he reminds us, every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. In other words, no job, no activity in this material world is going to be perfect. Everything has some flaw, if only because of the context of this material world. Spirit is perfect, but matter is not. Thus, no situation in this material world will be perfect. Still, if it's within our power to act in alignment with our spiritual principles, we should sincerely try our best, not out of guilt or pressure, but out of a genuine desire to please Krishna. If we can sidestep accumulating more material karma, then it's in our best interest to do so. Actually, this is the beautiful part. What pleases Krishna, it turns out, is also what's best for us. He's not asking us to sacrifice our happiness. He's guiding us toward our ultimate spiritual well-being and toward spiritual happiness, which is eternal. After all, who wants to keep accumulating material karma for ourselves or for others and be dragged through another round in the cycle of samsara, the cycle of birth and death, another material lifetime, another material body, more forgetfulness of who we really are, more material ups and downs, more spiritual distraction and material struggle? No, thank you. If we have even a small chance to act in a way that helps us break free from that cycle and brings us closer to Krishna, why wouldn't we take it? Therefore, it can be helpful to pause and reflect on your career, or if you're a student, on your future career. Ask yourself, does my line of work or potential line of work cause harm to other living beings? Does it degrade or dull my own consciousness? Can it serve as a platform to offer my time, talents, and energy to Krishna? Will I use my income to support my and my family's life, which includes our spiritual practices? Is this work supporting my spiritual life and practices, or is it steadily pulling me away from Krishna, causing me to forget him and not leaving me any time for spiritual practices? Does this work genuinely appeal to me? Is it aligned with my nature, something I feel inclined toward? This last question is important. In chapter 18 of the Bhagavad-gītā, Kṛṣṇa gives this profound guidance. It is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Kṛṣṇa is telling us, don't try to be someone else. Do what is natural for you and offer that to me. That's where spiritual life becomes sustainable and joyful, because at the end of the day, we want our entire life to be this beautiful offering to Krishna. And when we offer something we genuinely like to do, then our work becomes an offering of love, not a burden, but a joy. And that joy, when infused with devotion to the Supreme, carries us steadily on the path back to him. Spiritual life is a lot like driving, and it requires constant course correction. We may drift off track at times, but with steady effort and awareness, we can simply shift gears and continue moving toward the ultimate goal of life, which is to connect to Krishna. This is what the word yoga implies, connecting to the Supreme. We can always change our direction no matter how off course we've gone. This is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. Amazingly, we don't attain spiritual perfection by escaping daily life, but through it. By shifting our consciousness to Krishna throughout our day and making small, sincere course corrections, our everyday actions become the way in which we make spiritual advancement. This is the power of Bhakti Yoga. It's deeply practical. It doesn't demand that we abandon the world. Instead, it invites us to transform our relationship with matter. Through the lens of yukta-vairagya, the renunciation of material consciousness and its replacement with spiritual consciousness, even our ordinary work can become an offering to Krishna. And when our daily life becomes an offering of love, we're not just working, we're steadily walking the path back to Krishna, back to the spiritual world, our real home. So that's all we have for today on the topic of spiritualizing our work, our job. Please let us know what you think, and if you have any questions that we might answer in a follow-up video. In the meantime, thank you for listening today, and we'll see you next time on Bhakti Fundamentals.